at about the 2-yard line, and it's Pomona's turn now. Looking for some room. Big hole there. Look out. That could be some big-time trouble. Got Walker out in front of him.
Got it.
Herbert headed down the sideline. Does he have enough speed, enough gas? He's going to break one. He's going to go in. Touchdown, Pomona. 98 yards, and what an answer.
Well, we're down to the Final Four in Colorado high school football in both Class 4A and Class 5A. It's getting to the best time of the year. We'll get the semifinals coming up this week. State championships 2 weeks after that. Of course, we'll have that for you here on CET. But let's take a look back at those quarterfinal games. We had 2 games on CET, and one of those games was a 5A matchup, and it was Pomona and it was Bear Creek. And Marty, you were at the game. You had the call along with Corey Lopez, and I'll tell you what, that was a tale of 2 halves as 25-14, in fact 25-7 late in that second quarter. But what happened to Bear Creek in the second half?
I think a lot of adjustments by Pomona defensively, which Coach Jay Madden calls his own defense. They somehow found a way to stop Lucas Lockett, who was insane and brought some serious playoff intensity in the first half. Had 3 touchdowns in that first, I think it was 12 minutes to get the 25-7 lead. All of a sudden, flat out shut him down. Maybe some technical adjustments, going to a 4-man front, and then definitely a whole lot of that group of veteran linebackers just shadowing him and knocking him down. I think basically Pomona, what they did was say, hey, look, no more running game. We dare the Bears' passing attack, which actually sounds kind of funny, but we dare the passing attack to beat us, and the Bear Creek couldn't get it done.
Now let's take a look at the rest of the scores around Class 5A, and who will Pomona play? Well, it'll be the Fairview Knights, and there's Tom McCartney's team right there at the end, now down to the Final Four. They won a defensive battle against Columbine up at Rec Field.
I think that makes the Knights more dangerous. That was the one thing that I thought they couldn't stop the running game, the kind of ground attack that Columbine can bring. And here they are in a tough ball game like that. Interesting with Fairview.
Yeah, another defensive game. It was Regis and Arvada West. And again, we had this game earlier on in the season. It was back on September the 25th. It was a 20-6 win for the Arvada West Wildcats. Well, right back to Regis High School here 2 months later, this time in the state quarterfinals, and almost a carbon copy of the game that we did. 19-6 would be the final score of this one. So they're 11-1 now in the season, and they'll get Mullen. We kind of thought Mullen would advance to the semifinals, and again, all due respect to Joe Johnson, those Thunder Ridge Grizzlies, but Mullen has been doing it to everybody, Marty. Nobody has come close to the Mullen Mustangs. In fact, they were up 41-0 in the third quarter on Thunder Ridge. They had to invoke the mercy rule in this contest. Rayshawn Williams, he was awesome. 4 touchdowns, including a return punt. Adonis Hamid Moore goes over 150 yards. Hey, same old story for the Mullen Mustangs. They continue to roll.
You realize that defense is now in 12 games giving up only 56 points.
Wow.
Talking about Anyale, Wood, Martin up front, and then the linebackers, Healy and such. They're just amazing. It's all about the D for Mullen in my book.
All right, Marty, let's take a look at the 2 semifinal matchups now in Class 5A. And let's stay with Mullen. They get Arvada West. We saw what Arvada West's defense did to Regis last week. They're going to have to go to De La Salle Stadium. Does Arvada West have a chance? I'm going to put you on the spot. Do the Wildcats have a chance against Mullen?
Well, kind of like we talked about on our blog where we're doing the roundtable thing on ISPN.TV. A-West is one of the squads that I thought might be able to take advantage of really what I see as the only spot you can take advantage of against the Mullen Mustangs, and that's quick tosses to the outside. They got big guys like Justin Castor. You can also work with Balachi to the outside. If they can get a quick passing attack going to move down the field, and then defensively, as they just showed against Regis, kind of handle that offense or at least subdue them just a little bit, maybe they have a shot. And I'm stretching it seriously because we're just that impressed with what Mullen has.
Yeah, so Mullen gets set to take on Arvada West. It'll be at De La Salle Stadium coming up on Saturday. Meanwhile, the other semifinal matchup, Fairview taking on Pomona. Again, we've talked about each of these 2 teams. They both have a very good quarterback, and then they both have very good running backs in Tyler Pace and Tucker Tharp. This is going to be a great matchup up there at Rec Field on Saturday afternoon. Okay, that's Class 5A. Let's take a look at Class 4, and boy, did we have a gem. In fact, there was a handful of good games in Class 4A this past weekend, but we'll start with the big one, and it was the defending state champions take on the defending state runner-ups, Greeley West and Wheat Ridge, and unbelievable game. What happened to Greeley West in the fourth quarter? Up 16-0, Marty. They couldn't finish it off.
Wheat Ridge was getting dominated. I mean, Greeley West, it was a defensive battle like we expected, so not a lot of points put up on the board, but the Spartans scored a couple of times using the running game, and then guys like Cody Culbertson for the Spartans defense were just completely annihilating anything Wheat Ridge was trying to offer, and then all of a sudden, click, Wheat Ridge turned it on, and this is what we're learning about the Farmers and Coach Reed Call. They're just special when it comes to this time of year. All of a sudden, they get a touchdown strike to Eric Shannon, and then they get a turnover. The defense for Wheat Ridge suddenly just put the stop down on Greeley West. And then basically, you got to describe the game-winning drive where the quarterback, Charlie Lamb, got knocked out of the game. Nick Osella steps up as a junior quarterback to fill in on the final drive, gets a 30-yard touchdown pass, converts 2 4th downs, and he scores the game-winning touchdown with about a minute 10 left in the game.
After Stephen Bunting took that long run to the house and it put Greeley West up 14-0 in the third quarter, I thought that game was over.
I was with you.
I thought the Spartans had that game in control, but they weren't able to finish it out. And look, I know that Jordan Gomez is a nice, capable backup quarterback. He is a good quarterback. Would start on most teams in 4A, but I know that Greeley West football team would have been a different team with Sean Blackmer at quarterback. And not to make excuses for Greeley West, because you look across the board, I know Danny Spahn would have made Columbine a better football team. I know that Sam Stratton would have made a huge difference in the postseason for the Chatfield Chargers, but not having Sean Blackmer there obviously hurts Greeley West, and they only put up 16 points. They needed 21. They would lose 20-16. To the rest of the scoreboard there in the quarterfinals in Class 4A, how about the game against Pine Creek and Longmont? That game at Longmont, and Longmont wins it 42-41. Jake Johnson was unbelievable in this one.
I'm shocked. 1,000 yards of offense between these two squads, and I say that because Longmont, we know they're tough and hard-nosed. Pine Creek, amazing defense, and still you got Johnson passing for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and got the game winner to Dalton Cole. Just how it ended, I wish I would have been around for that. I was at the Wheat Ridge Greeley West game. You had a tip pass that turned into a Pine Creek touchdown with 1:20 left. They missed the PAT, then they recovered the onside kick, but there was a penalty. It must have been just pure chaos and completely tense during that football game.
Yeah, then Monarch needs 4 overtimes to knock off Loveland. About that game, I know you like Loveland to knock off Monarch there, and certainly had a number of chances, but Monarch pulls away.
Yeah, they just kept banging away, and took 4 overtimes. Ryan Hamlin with his 3rd touchdown to win the thing. I think a big key is don't forget the Monarch defense. The Coyotes, Mitchell and Slade, and the Coyotes defense made a 4th down stop in that 4th OT to get Hamlin that opportunity to win it.
And then Heritage, they knock off Montrose. Heritage had to go on the road. They win it 43-26. Mitch Greibel, absolutely phenomenal. Again, that's a good senior class that Heritage has. Of course, Mitch Greibel headlines that along with Shane Opitz. State title or bust has been their motto the entire season. So as we look at the 2 semifinal matchups, Marty, and let's start Monarch against Heritage. Monarch wants to keep the football away from that Heritage offense as much as they can. And then it's Longmont taking on Wheat Ridge. I don't know how you bet against Wheat Ridge at this point. I remember Reed Call. I talked to him in August when we were putting together a CET high school football preview show, and he said, listen, I know we graduated Parker Orms, but we are bigger, we're stronger, we're faster here this year, even without Parker Orms. And that's a football team that's played with a chip on their shoulder the entire season long, because a lot of people, not us, a lot of people didn't have them ranked in their preseason top 10. We did. We had Wheat Ridge in there, but they lose Parker Orms, and all of a sudden everybody writes off Wheat Ridge. And those Farmers, they took that personally earlier on the season. They've had a chip on their shoulder all year.
It's funny you say that too, because Coach Call told me before the game against Greeley West, he said the pressure's on them. They've been number 1 all season long, kind of making a point to me that he knows exactly what we've been doing here on ISBN.TV.
Yeah, well, it should be another great weekend of high school football. We're down to 4 in both 4A and 5A, and don't forget, we'll have one of those semifinal games coming up for you here this weekend, and then the following weekend, we're the home of the 4A and 5A football state championships. For Marty Cesario, I'm Brian Roth. Thanks for watching here on ISPN.TV.